Hi, my name is Jennifer Neace, but most of my friends and coworkers call me Jen. Just a little bit about myself. I have three amazing and crazy, energetic children. My oldest daughter turns 6 today, so happy birthday, Harper. And my youngest daughter just turned 8 months a few days ago, and I have a 4-year-old son stuck in the middle. I have a wonderful husband who is very supportive, and we just could not be happier with our life. I grew up in the middle of nowhere, literally, in a town called Flemingsburg, right in between Moorhead and Maysville. So I really wanted to kind of get out of that small town. So when it was time to go to college, I chose to go to the University of Kentucky, go Wildcats. And it is there that I fell in love with education and with working with elementary age children. I really didn't know what I wanted to do when I first started school at UK, but I discovered a social work class and absolutely fell in love. And so I quickly made that my major and was able to participate in 2 internships as a bachelor's level student, one of them at the Bluegrass Rape Crisis Center in Lexington. And there I was able to work with age ranges really from childhood, young children from usually like 2 or 3 years old, up into adulthood. And so that was a great experience to work with a variety of age levels. And my second internship was at Booker T. Washington Elementary in Lexington. And this was a really interesting school and a great place to do an internship because it was a school that had recently been integrated with another school. So there was lots of changes going on in the school. And to be quite honest, a lot of the community and the families were not happy about some of the changes. So this gave me a really good opportunity to learn how your attitude and your passion for education and your love for children can really help to soften things and to change people's mindsets, especially if they've already been upset about something. So it was a great opportunity to learn. I worked with an amazing school counselor there, and this is where I learned how to do classroom guidance lessons. This is where I learned how to really work with students individually with their counseling. And I also learned a lot about the school system in general and how things really operate, the ins and outs of how school runs. So this was an amazing experience. This is an experience that led me to what I'm doing today. And so I am forever grateful to that school and to the staff and all of the wonderful, amazing children that I worked with. I graduated college in 2007 and knew I wanted to go ahead and get my master's degree. So I went back to UK immediately and started working on my master's in social work. At that time, I also moved to Northern Kentucky with my now husband, and we bought a home actually in Plantation Point. So I drove past Urban Tech Elementary every single day and was a part of that community and really loved this community. So that was something that was really neat for me to experience, kind of living in one school community and kind of seeing what's going on at that school and meeting the neighbors and the children that go there. And at the same time, I received a job at Florence Elementary on the other side of town, working in the Family Resource Center. So that was an amazing opportunity for me to really get into the school system and start working with students and families and the staff at the school. So I had started that job in 2007, and then I went back to school to get my master's in school counseling. And so I finished that degree a few years ago and have been working as a school counselor since. My time in the Family Resource Center is invaluable to me. It's something that I am so glad that I got to be a part of. I was able to work with some of the most amazing students, amazing families of all time. I really got to learn the Northern Kentucky community, which was super helpful in my ability to really help these families and to assist them with what they needed. So one of the things that was very important to me was making sure that my families had everything that they needed in order to be successful. I wanted to remove as many barriers to learning as I could so that my students could walk in the door and be confident that they could learn and they could thrive, and that they could have a wonderful academic career, and they could have a wonderful life. So some of the things that I did were simple things like providing basic needs. Let's get them the school supplies they need, the clothing they need. Let's make sure that they have water and electricity. Let's make sure that they have health care, that they have a dentist to go to. So those were some of the things that I was doing that took up a lot of my time, but was very important to the families that we have in our school system. I was able to build wonderful relationships with the parents. And one of the things that I found that was really important for me to focus on was making sure that the parents were empowered to find these resources on their own. So when I first started, a lot of them would come to me and they would say, I need this, or my child needs that. And at first I would find the resource and I would give that to them, and I felt really good about that, and I felt like I was really making a difference. But looking past that, I wanted them to be able to access those services on their own independently. I wanted them to learn what they needed and how to go about finding it. I wanted to empower them that they could handle this for themselves. So one of the things that I did was I started bringing them in, having them make phone calls, going with them to local agencies and businesses and organizations, and really supporting and encouraging them to be able to be a voice for their family. And I think that was something that was really beneficial and something that I learned a lot from as well. I also was able to go in and out of the classrooms and teach some lessons here and there. And a lot of my role in the Family Resource Center at Florence Elementary was to provide mental health support for our students and families. So working with the students individually, facilitating small groups where we worked on various topics, doing a lot of the things that sometimes school counselors do, but because it was in my skill set and because we only had one school counselor at the time, it was something that I kind of took on to help with the students and the families at our school. I became very knowledgeable about local resources and community partners, and one thing that I'm very proud of is that I worked on a board that works to prevent child abuse. It's called the Community Collaboration for Children, and it's a regional network that's made up of local service organizations, the cabinet, different school leaders, and our main focus is finding ways to prevent child abuse and to provide resources and support in our community. A highlight of my career was being awarded a Community Partner Award within that organization, and that's so important to me because it really highlights all of the work that I did to find resources and to build relationships within our community. And the reason that's so important is because I know that if I have a family that has a need, I can find someone that can help them, and that's super important to me. When I started in the school counseling position, I knew that I wanted to be a school counselor. I had a great role model in Lexington where I did my first internship. And I had great coworkers within the county, but I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. I felt very confident in the counseling piece of it, but I had never worked with state assessment. I had never done anything with special education in my life, and now I was going to be in charge of chairing ARC meetings. So there were some things that I really had to learn. I was very lucky that Boone County has a great support system and people were very willing to work with me. So now I can confidently say that I am capable and very competent in chairing ARC meetings. I've learned a lot about special education, and I've made it a priority to me to research and find out as much as I can so that I can do that job well. I have now worked with grants with kindergarten students. I have worked with access for ELL students. At Collins Elementary, where I currently work, we have over 200 ELL students that participate in that assessment. So that has been a lot of fun to navigate. And I've also administered and been the back for K-Prep for the last several years. So now I can also say that I understand state assessment and that I can be the building assessment coordinator with no problems. So those are kind of some of the things that kind of have led me to the point where I am now. So the next thing really to talk about is my philosophy with education and teaching. And the one thing that I can say is that I believe with all my heart that every child can learn and every child can be successful. Are there circumstances that are difficult for children to overcome? Yes. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about the ACEs study. That's been a big conversation piece in the last few years. And basically, the ACEs study just says that the more childhood adverse experiences that you have, the higher the risk of mental health problems, of low academic success, of health problems. So all of the things that can really negatively impact your life. But what I believe is that all kids can learn and can overcome those things. And I believe that it is our job as educators and adults in their lives to build up the protective factors that can overcome those adverse experiences and to teach resiliency. Resiliency is one of those things that we used to think you either had or you didn't have, and now we know that we can teach kids how to be resilient. We can provide social emotional learning opportunities for them that can help them navigate the stress and the turmoil in their lives and to build resiliency, to build protective factors so that they can overcome all of those challenges that they have been exposed to or that they currently face. And so that is my biggest belief, and I believe that as a school counselor and as a human, that I should be doing everything I can to foster resiliency, to be a protective factor for as many children as I can. And so that is my true philosophy for education, and I hope that everyone agrees with me on that one. Thank you so much for your time.